Hi, everyone. Thank you for meeting us to go over the noteworthy characteristics section for your MSPE. And I would love and very thankful to introduce Darnell, who all of you already know, um, to our to this session, and to let you know that she will now be serving as the interim residency development specialist. And as you know, Alex, who we were very sad to see leave earlier this year, Darnell has so graciously um, agreed to help us and to support all of you, especially as this upcoming application season comes. She will be here to support you, and she brings so much wisdom and guidance and experience from her previous role. As many of you know, she previously worked at Loma Linda as a residency coordinator. And we are so thankful to have her expertise to help us to support you as you're applying to residency next year. And so, Darnell, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you so much for the warm welcome, Dr. Nguyen. And yes, we are sad for Alex leaving, but growth development. Hi, everyone. My name is Darnell. I look forward to working with all of you. And as Dr. Nguyen mentioned, I was a previous residency coordinator at Loma Linda, and I oversaw 4 programs. So you are in good hands, and I'm always happy to provide support when you need it. Just send me an email, and I'm happy to work with you.
Thank you, Darnell. And as many of you already know, previously, prior to me coming here to UC Riverside, I came from UC Irvine, where I was the APD for the Family Medicine Residency Program. And I will tell you, I've looked at these MSPEs hundreds and hundreds and hundreds every single application cycle. We would receive 1,500 per year. And so I looked at tons of these. And there are several examples of noteworthy characteristics that I thought stood out, that looked good, and that I felt really helped support our applicants, and some that maybe weren't so helpful. So my hope is that after this session, you'll be able to have more clarity on what you should write and have for your noteworthy characteristics section. So first off, what exactly is the noteworthy characteristics section of the MSPE? So as you all know, the MSPE is also known as the Dean's Letter. And what that is this noteworthy characteristics section is your input into the Dean's Letter, right? So the rest of the Dean's Letter includes things like about rotation evaluations and what your comments have been made from your attendings that you rotated with. This portion, this is your part. This is your part to show how much you shine, right? So this showcases your unique activities, the achievements, things, incredible things that you've done while you've been a medical student here at UC Riverside School of Medicine. And it highlights the unique aspects regarding different components, right? Whether it's experiences, research, or teaching, mentoring, those kind of things are so deeply important. And I think that's what you need to think about. So in terms of thinking about it, where do you even start? How do you even start writing these noteworthy characteristics? Well, the first thing I think of is you should start with your CV. So read your CV, look at each of those sections, right? So you have the sections for leadership, sections for awards and honors that you've received, research, teaching, mentorship, volunteer work, organizations. For example, here on campus, things you've done for that Darnell has been part of, the student interest groups, um, the different committees, whether it's the MEC committee, the MSC committee, professionalism committee, all of those things, if they are important to you, I think you should emphasize. And really, the third point here is so important. Think of the ones that personally mean something to you. And then from that, choose 3 entries that you're most proud of, because this is what sticks in your Dean's Letter. And in fact, the noteworthy characteristics is right at the beginning of your Dean's Letter. It's before they get to even see any of the evaluations, any of the things that your attendings have had to say to you. This is your part to start that narrative. So let's start it off strong. So how do I use these bullets to explain, should I use these bullets to explain extenuating circumstances? So for example, if you had to take some time off, let's say whether it's due to some health illnesses or you took a year off for whatever reason, a leave of absence, I recommend that you don't do this. This is a section to highlight positive things about you and how much you've shined. I do not recommend you use this section to discuss extenuating circumstances. If you took a leave of absence for other reasons, for and that you feel that there should be an explanation, I think your personal statement is a better venue and a better format for you to talk about that. And that way you have more time and more, basically more space, right? Because the amount that you can put in the noteworthy characteristics is very limited in terms of how much you can actually write. The personal statement is a better, like I said, venue for that. Should I include things I did before medical school? Well, that depends. Typically, my answer to that is no. However, it's something truly outstanding or something that's really important to you, then I think the answer would be yes. For example, if you were part of the Peace Corps, I think you absolutely should include that, right? And I will tell you, in my experience working as an APD before, I saw people write that they were part of the Peace Corps. The other thing that I saw that people would write is that they had longitudinal experience working with underserved populations. They did mission trips, ongoing free clinic work, and let's say a certain country that they visited every single summer, and they still continue to do so in medical school. I think those things are very important. I would not recommend that you use this area to boast about or talk about honors or accolades from college. Like Phi Beta Kappa, you should not talk about those things. And also, even in medical school, you should talk about, let's say, our school doesn't have it, but AOA, you should not talk about gold humanism either. That there are different sections for that. They belong in different areas. The noteworthy characteristics is what this is your opportunity to show them who you are as a person. So make it personable.
Dr. Nguyen, can I ask you a
Yes,
question?
absolutely.
What if I did a research in college, but it's not really pertaining to medicine?
I would not recommend doing that. Now, if your research was something that you did, let's say, was in antibiotic resistance or acne, right? I think, and you are applying to dermatology and you're still somewhat involved in that kind of research as a medical student, I think that would be an outstanding thing to say. I've had a long history of involvement in dermatologic research. I think that would be important. Thank you, Darnell, for that question. Should I include my hobbies? So my answer to this is typically no. However, it depends. If your hobbies make you stand out, I think you may want to consider it. So, for example, if you're applying to emergency medicine, slash, and maybe considering doing wilderness medicine as a, let's say, as a track for a particular emergency medicine residency program, you might want to because there may be some hobbies that are related to that, outdoor activities, those kind of things that are kind of related, right, to emergency medicine, wilderness medicine. Then I think that would be an appropriate consideration. What are the do's and don'ts for noteworthy characteristics? So on the left side are the do's and on the right side are the don'ts. So on the do's, the first one is write in third person format. So don't write I, you should write in third person, right? Um, be succinct, write 1 to 2 sentences for each bullet. You have 300 characters total for each bullet. Write points that are factually based rather than focusing on your goals or future ideas. So don't say things, for example, like your goal is to become a um, let's say a particular specialist, because the thing is that your MSPE might be used. Let's say you're applying, they're going to see the same MSP regardless of what specialty you apply for. So let's say you happen to be dual applying. You don't want your noteworthy characteristics to say you're applying to, let's say, urology, and then your MSPE you're applying as a backup to a different specialty, for example. So I wouldn't recommend you do that. Include the following types of activities while in med school: research, service, leadership roles, awards, and committees. For example, the MSc, the MEC, the SIG interest groups with Darnell. All those things are, I think, that you've been so diligently working towards over the past few years as a medical student. That should be something you should emphasize. Include unique experiences prior to medical school only if it's an outstanding experience. And we talked about that earlier, right? Things like the Peace Corps. Now, the things you shouldn't include is AOA or gold humanism. There's actually a separate section where these type of honors and things go, and that's in a different summary section. Do not include religious or political identifiers. Don't mention specific specialties, and I alluded to that earlier. You can include activities related to specialties that you're interested in, but you don't have to announce the plans that you're applying to them. So I would recommend not doing that. And don't assess your own medical school performance. Don't write things like that I did well in clinical rotations. That doesn't go there, right? Um, And don't include quotes from your rotation evaluations, because again, there's a separate part of your MSPE that already has all of the rotation evaluations from your attendings. The next few slides are, we're going to go over samples of what Darnell and I feel are um, good and bad noteworthy examples of noteworthy characteristics.
Can I also add, Dr.
Yes,
Wen,
Darnell.
that
Yes.
if you go back to that slide, that this slide is something that was taken off of double
Yes,
AMC,
from
and this
double
is some
AMC. So
directly. So this is something that you could choose to keep on your own as a guidelines when you are writing your noteworthy characteristics. And I do want also add that there will be a Qualtrics survey that is going to be sent out with a deadline for you all to submit these noteworthy characteristics. And I'm gonna remind you again at the end of this presentation again, just in case.
thank you, Darnell. So for our first example we have here is blank served as a medical student manager for the Riverside Free Clinic, ensuring underprivileged and marginalized patients of Riverside receive health care. So this is what Darnell and I would feel is a great example of a noteworthy characteristic. It shows a heart towards working with underserved patients. And again, that's our mission here at UCR School of Medicine, right? So this should not come to any surprise to anyone who reads your MSPE. They will know that you have that working with underserved patients is very important to you. Blank was an active member of the Wellness Committee advocating for student mental and physical health. She organized multiple workshops and activities for UCR School of Medicine medical students. So again, I think this is important because it shows your commitment to working towards wellness, to resiliency. And resiliency, as Darnell will tell you, is such a, as much as it's a cliche term that's used in residency, it's a very important part because residency is hard, it's long. And they're looking for residents who are resilient, right? Who can stand, the grueling training, right? So that's what they're looking for, that resiliency piece. Blank received the Community Service Award from LMSA and UCR School of Medicine for mentorship of undergraduate and high school students from underrepresented minorities to pursue careers in medicine. So again, this shows that this is someone who has the heart towards mentorship and again with underserved communities and really trying to foster that model of what medicine is all about, right? You learn you learn something, and then you're bringing it, paying it forward and teaching it to a new generation, right? That's what this is really showing, and I think this is an awesome noteworthy characteristic.
Can I share a little bit about that noteworthy
Yes,
character
absolutely,
that you
Darnell.
mentioned? I also wanted to share something that this aligns with medicine, right? So you're connecting your personal experiences to skills that is relevant to what it's like being a physician, is what I'm seeing when I'm reading this sentence right here that you just said, Dr. Wen. I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, and Darnell, in your previous role working as a residency coordinator at Loma Linda, and I know you read through so many of these MSPEs. That's what you're basically looking for, is tying
Yes.
that back to medicine. What does that even have to do with anything, right? And this really here is the crux of it. It's showing that you, as a future physician, you have the insight, right? That you're going to continue to serve not only as a doctor to your patients, but as a mentor to future to future people that you will interact with. So again, another good example of a noteworthy characteristic. Blank spent 2 years teaching English and volunteering at an underserved free clinic in Kenya prior to starting medical school. So this is an example of, we talked about it, whether you should include something from previously starting medical school or not. And I think this is a perfect example of where I would say, yes, this is a very good example because it shows a commitment to working with underserved people prior to starting medical school. And they know you're probably still doing that now. And then it shows that you're teaching, and it shows these are the characteristics, again, like Darnell mentioned, tying it back to medicine. Medicine is not just about seeing patients, right? It's about teaching patients, educating patients, but also teaching the residents and medical students that you're going to be working with. Blank conducted clinical research regarding appropriate antibiotic usage and stewardship in hospitalized patients with nosocomial pneumonia, leading to a poster presentation and publication to the American College of Physicians. So this is another good example of where it highlights that this person has been dedicated towards working towards research and was honored to have publications with it. So I think this is another great example. Let's look at some other examples. Yes or
I have a
no?
question, Dr. Wen. What if what if I was part of the poster, but I didn't present, but I helped put together the poster that got published. So oftentimes what happened is that there is residents and medical student who would work in a project together, but the abstract gets submitted, but medical student don't. Oftentimes, what if something come up and they couldn't participate? How should I rephrase it in a sense that
But
I still contributed to that presentation?
yeah, absolutely. So Darnell, I think it's still the key here is it still led to a poster presentation, right? So, and you can write that it still led to it. So you're not misleading or anything. You're saying the
Okay.
truth. Your work and contribution led to these things. So absolutely. Thank you, Darnell. Blank extended his MS 2 year due to significant health issues that required surgery. So again, this is an example of where I would not put this, right? There are other areas where you can explain this. You could possibly explain it during your personal statement, but I would not put this on here. Blank is a wife of 2 young children and brings a wealth of experience from prior career in clinical social work. So there's a couple of things that are concerning to me on this. Is one is this is where I would say, talking about a wealth of experience, that's a judgment call, right? And we talked about don't self-evaluate yourself um, in these noteworthy characteristics. And the other part is I'm not sure how much having 2 young children is relevant to having as a part of your noteworthy characteristics. So again, I would not use this as an example. This is another example. Desires to pursue a career in academic medicine and faculty development fellowship after residency. So again, you remember on the do's and don'ts slide, part of that was to not talk about specific specialties or what your future goals are because they may change first off. And second, remember your MSPE is not going to change after it's finalized. These things will stick with you and stay with you as you apply to residency, as you apply to fellowship. So again, you want to keep it focused on your accomplishments because it shows that what does that mean? That your previous accomplishments can translate to future wonderful, great things in the future. But you don't have to necessarily write that now here, right? In terms of like this example. So this is an example of a noteworthy characteristic that I would not put in. I would not recommend using something like this. And finally, we'll pass this over to Darnell.
And I'm going to remind you again, I just said this already, pop quiz. I'm just kidding. So you'll be uploading the noteworthy characteristics in a Qualtrics survey that I will be sending out to everyone with a deadline. There are also several resources that you could use to start drafting your noteworthy characteristics via our website, which I will also send over to everyone and include on the Qualtrics survey so it's for easy access. Don't hesitate to reach out to us. It doesn't have to be perfect if you're still working on it. We just want to make sure that you're thinking about it and we can always groom it and make it nicer so that we can before we put it on your MSPE. And Dr. Nguyen will be providing some support as well to and myself to make sure that we are highlighting and showcasing those experiences, your growth and how it's shaped and tying it into medicine. Thank you, Dr. Nguyen.
Thank you, Darnell. And echoing what Darnell just mentioned, I want to emphasize first off, thank you for watching this video with us, but mainly also to know for you all to know that Darnell and we're here to support you through this journey in this next year. If you have any questions about these noteworthy characteristics, or if you want to meet with me or Darnell, please let us know. You can feel free to reach out to us, and we can schedule an appointment. We can both meet with you together so we can go over these noteworthy characteristics with you if you have any questions about it. But like I said, we are here to support you, and we're going to get through this.